And I think that this year, Nubank will announce its own chain. Maybe Q4. Basically, they see the power that's having something like Tempo.
For me, this most exciting predictions actually lie in the AI space, man. I mean, I'm just like, ever since Opus 4.5 and Codex came out and like this fight with the like latest models.
One of the theses that I have building everything that I'm building is that AI makes good founders better and bad founders worse. Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Frontera, the first episode of 2026. I'm Ab, co-founder and CEO of Bando. I'm with my great friends Kush, the founder of Odisea Labs, and Simon, that is leading growth at Alliance, a top crypto accelerator. And today I'm really excited because this is the 2026 prediction episode for Frontera. We're gonna focus a lot in things that we see are gonna happen in emerging markets, things that we see in stablecoins, things that we see in the DeFi wallet. So it's gonna be a great episode. And guys, we cannot start this episode without talking about what's happening in Venezuela. We share our love to everyone, to all the Venezuelan people. We know that there's a lot of people really happy of everything that's happening. It's at the end, it's an aggressive scenario, but a lot of people are saying that this should have happened a long time ago. And Simon, you're Venezuelan. You have family there, friends all over the world. Venezuela has had an exodus of people for the last decade. So please tell us first impressions about this attack on and the capturing of Nicolás Maduro, this dictator. I'd love to hear some real takes from a Venezuelan like you and not all the distortioned media that's out there. So tell us, you just before recording, you were telling us that some of your friends are celebrating, people in Venezuela cannot celebrate. So initial reactions, what happened? Happy New Year, man. Tell
Yeah,
us.
well, happy New Year to everyone. So yeah, I guess that first of all, I'm gonna try to demystify and to like paraphrase a lot of the information that I've learned, and I'm gonna try to like give you guys some facts rather than opinions because everybody has an opinion, and there's a lot of stuff out there from people who are like trying to create some sort of hypothesis of what's happening or like why something happened, but nobody really knows, right? Like the information that we have is very limited, specifically the information coming from the United States government and like what's going to happen like following and after. But we do have some facts, and most of these facts are related to like Venezuelan history, right? Like the role of Venezuela in geopolitics, the role of the Venezuelan regime in geopolitics, the role of Cuba and India and Russia and China in Venezuela and in the region. Um, the role of Venezuela as an energy resource for the United States historically and in the future. And so there's some facts, right, that we can talk about. And I could go on forever, but it's been great because obviously I've been celebrating ever since the news happened. My dad called me like super early in the morning here where I am, and I was like, holy shit, dad, what the fuck? I I shut the phone and then I opened WhatsApp, and everything bursting with the videos of the bombing, and it's almost it's something that you don't believe the first time as a Venezuelan after 25 years of narco terrorist dictatorship, and after like all the pain that people have suffered. The narco terrorist dictatorship is a nice way to call these people. It's like Machiavellic, you know, terrorist organization that has been like a cancer in Venezuela and in the region that has so many people have lost their lives, like thousands of people have lost their lives, families broken, like the impact that it has for an entire country is unspeakable, and the impact that it has had in an entire region is unspeakable. If you start to see the history, it's insane. This government has almost $3 trillion of money that has been lost. And this is easily calculatable through like the income on petroleum, on drug exports, gold exports, and coltan exports, which is another resource in Venezuela that is very in demand. And it's about $3 trillion, which it's infinite money that these narco terrorists used to have for like buying people, buying politicians in the United Nations, in the United States, dude. Like it's crazy. Once this all happens, we're gonna have Netflix shows about this thing, and then you guys will see like Pablo Escobar is baby speak, bro. Like this is like the craziest fucking narco terrorist organization that has ever existed in human history, and this is the start of the end. Um, and again, maybe if you guys have some specific questions, I can answer those most like directly, because there's so much happening. And as I mentioned to you guys, everybody outside of Venezuela is celebrating. Everybody inside of Venezuela cannot celebrate because right now the transition hasn't happened. The colectivos, which is like guerrilla owned by the narcos, are controlling the streets and they're stopping people in the streets. Most people are not leaving their homes, and it's crazy, dude. Like, yeah, there's a lot. I even saw a video recently about like, why the military, why how the military is controlled by the narco state. Even that little specific fact is insane. Like, I lived in Venezuela for the longest time, and I didn't know they designed it specifically so that that the military cannot reveal against the top people in the narco dictatorship. They have
Also,
2,000 generals.
what's the name of the guy that preceded Maduro, Chavez? He was a he was in the military, right? So that's a really scary position to see around. Like whenever a military, like a general, gets into power, it never goes right. And in Mexico, sorry, in Latin America, that happened. In Argentina, that happened. In Chile, that happened. In Venezuela, it never ended well, right? So this like collusion between the army and the government. That's why basically everywhere there's a separation between these powers. And Kush, I know that you are a geopolitic nerd, so and I know that you might have a lot of questions about this specific situation for Simon. Do you have any specific questions for that you want to ask?
Simon, one of the largest criticisms that I have heard around what happened a few days ago was that two pieces of criticism. So the first one is that this is another act of U.S. imperialism in Latin America, and this, the Don Roe doctrine, as he's calling it, is just emboldening this particular administration to take larger stances and more aggressive sort of stances with governments that he doesn't agree with. I'm curious, like, as a Venezuelan, how you react to that criticism, and like whether or not you think that is something that people that don't know any Venezuelans, have never been to Venezuela, should be concerned about. Like, what does this say about U.S. imperialism in Latin America in this sort of new era? I think this attack to some extent was a response as well to a lot of China's engagement. Venezuela is an incredibly important resource for China in the region. So I'm curious how you think and sort of respond to that particular argument.
Yeah, it's very simple, actually. Venezuela has been invaded by China and Russia and Cuba for the longest time. Have been orchestrating everything that has happened in Venezuela. Fidel Castro was the main orchestrator of what happened in Venezuela. A long time ago, he basically instructed Chavez to support the FARC and the cocaine trafficking coming into the United States. This has always been the fight of Cuba, the USSR communism against, the United States. And personally, the United States is a freedom-loving country. As much as many problems as they have, it's in its values, it's in its constitution. It's a country that I personally relate to, and I think most Venezuelans that have fled the country, and most Venezuelans that are still in the country, that haven't been able to flee the country, that haven't been indoctrinated by the Chavismo, agree with. Most people are freedom-loving people in Venezuela, and so I think this is a reality check of like, all of these like international organisms trying to say what's legal and what's not legal. Ultimately, it's a reality check. It's a slap in the face, because the reality is that the world is controlled by three powers: China, Russia, and the United States, and they're gonna do what they're gonna do. And international laws are basically all these other little countries trying to impose laws on the big guys to try to control them. And here we are, right? Like the United States doesn't give a fuck, China doesn't give a fuck, Russia doesn't give a fuck, and all the little countries else can go crying to their moms, because the reality is that they don't have the power. And so in Venezuela, what's happening, it's amazing. The reality is that the people in Venezuela have been just subject to 25 years of despair, of destroy, of like the worst cancer that has ever happened. And it comes from outside of Venezuela. It comes from Cuba, again, from China, from all these places trying to get power over this little piece of land, which is a very rich piece of land. And the United States is a freedom loving country, has similar values to us, and I would rather have be like in good doing business with the United States, doing business with the West, with freedom loving countries, and hopefully and the reality is that they saved Venezuela from the situation. So people can criticize all they want, but nothing is going to change. The United States has a clear plan. They're not going to let the bad guys who are in power still stay in Venezuela. There's going to be a transition, but I know a little bit more about from a guy who was an informant to the DEA, and I actually saw a podcast, a 1 hour long podcast today about a lot of information on how the transition may happen. But I am now feeling a lot more confident that the transition will happen, and that these motherfuckers are not going to stay in power. But it's just going to be a process. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that one of the things that I get out of this situation is that geopolitics are so complex, because it's a system that has been built for thousands of years. And we as humans have a memory of 100 years or 30 years at most. And when these situations happen, they happen so fast, and we are so informed how things are happening. I mean, I was informed maybe 5 minutes within the attacks, right? And I was in another continent. So information flows so fast. And also a lot of people generate a perception so fast that as humans, we are not designed to generate perceptions as fast for these types of topics when we are not in the middle of the problem, when we are not in the piece of land that it's being affected. So personally, as a Mexican, someone that also is really aligned with freedom, with capital markets, with business generation, my personal stance is, let's wait and see. I rather speak to you, Simon, instead of go to traditional media and get your insights, right? And get your insights. There's one person in the Bando team that it's from Venezuela. That's the first person that I checked in, right? Because obviously it can be something really good, but if you're in Venezuela and you hear the helicopters and you hear bombs, basically you are absolutely scared of what's happening. So something that I try to push to the Frontera community and to Bando and Espacio Crypto is, it's so easy to form a perception that perception might be wrong. We need to wait, we need to get information, and we need to deep dive to get better information. So I think that in the upcoming weeks, we're going to keep talking about this. There's a lot of things that are going to unfold in the upcoming days. I'm excited for the people of Venezuela. It's really sad to see when a country needs to have an exodus because of a specific situation. And Venezuela, a lot of people left. And they live now in Madrid, they live now in Mexico, in the US. It's sad to see.
Yeah, Venezuelans didn't go to the United States to look for the American dream. Like 1/3 of the country, like more than 30% of the country, left the country looking for just, a better place to live, because Venezuela was unlivable. And again, like I could just be here for hours talking about like the poor quality of life that we had to endure, and the how that detriment, like how the detriment of the quality of life, like month over month for the span of 20 years, the crime, the violence, the everything. It's, I could be here talking for hours about like everything that I saw, but what is very clear is that, you know, all these people left with like a couple of luggages, like, and nothing, and left their entire families and businesses and dreams behind to look for a new life. And that's not a simple decision to make. That's a very hard decision to make. And most of these people didn't went looking for the American dream. They just went looking for, you know, a place where they can safely go to the streets, not be killed, and buy a piece of loaf, like, and go to the supermarket and find food because that is what is expected.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
we'll see how everything unfolds. We have a, I mean, I think that you're one of the best people that we can have to get the pulse on the situation, because basically your background, you being Venezuelan, access to information. So we'll keep chatting about this.
One
And
thing
yeah, go
One
ahead.
thing that I did wanted to mention, that is that Maduro was, like, I got confirmation that he was betrayed by Delcy Rodriguez and Jorge Rodriguez, her husband. So they were part of like giving him out. So that's definitely a fact confirmed, which is pretty cool. But that doesn't mean that like they're out of the question. Delcy Rodriguez and Jorge Rodriguez, other two big narco guys, have a lot of a lot of crimes, confirmed crimes, that the DA has been creating an investigation and a report for the last 20 years. It's something I didn't know. It's crazy. Maduro, like, in the nicest case scenario, has two life sentences, and, you know, like, he's gonna die in prison, and that's for sure. Like, people they're discussing, like, maybe, you know, the judge in the United States is kind of like a left winger who hates Trump. It's like, no, bro, like, this guy is gonna prison for sure. Like, he has too much confirmed, too much confirmed story behind him. And again, I'm gonna butcher this, so I'm not gonna go dive into this too quickly, but everybody looks at Venezuela as a banana country. You know, a lot of these big powers look at Venezuela as a banana republic, as a piece of shit. They see Maduro dance and they see a bus driver. It's like, bro, yeah, he might not be the smartest guy, but he was the tip of the spear of, again, one of the biggest criminal organizations that has ever existed, that actually had even influence on the 2000 elections of the United States. Bro, the story, it's crazy. I actually learned recently that Venezuela created a voting system. The government of Venezuela created a voting system that they used to steal the Venezuelan elections with for many times, but they actually bought a 30% stake, a full percent stake in the company that is called Sequoia, that manages about 30% of the voting system in the United States. And they had a big piece basically influencing, or basically corrupting, the elections of 2000 when Joe Biden won. And apparently this is what ticked Trump to say, oh my God, like, these guys are actually like real fucking narcos. It's not the petroleum, it's not Maria Corina, it's actually the fact that they had influence in corrupting the United States elections in the 2000s. So again, like, these are not just little fish. These are the biggest criminals on earth. And there's a bunch of them.
Yeah, I think for me, this is actually a really, like, part of the reason why I think we do this podcast when we have these conversations, because actually this is basically like the biggest moments in global geopolitics, all shifting towards, you know, effectively like one of the most resource rich countries in the world. And, you know, it's basically that playing out. One note I will add, I don't know if you guys have seen the Venezuelan bonds, but they're up 3x on the year. So in case you don't have any, and up 30% the day the invasion happened. So it's interesting to see also like global markets sort of respond. It looks like a, you know, kind of very pump fun-esque curve here if you look at the Venezuelan bond. So interesting to see like global markets also respond to this. And I know a lot of people are interested and sort of excited to see what happens here on outwards too in the country.
Yeah, let's keep chatting about this week over week. I'm so bullish in so many companies because of this. There are so many top Venezuelan founders. It's like Guille from El Dorado, Manu from Felix Pago, Amilcar from Meru. These guys are building fucking amazing companies. The Contigo guys, they are building fucking amazing companies, and they weren't able to deploy them in their country of origin. Let's see how like what happens in the next couple of months. And Kush, I want to go to some of your prediction. As I wrote, I'm an old school guy, pen and paper. I wrote like 5 predictions that I want to run through you all, but I'd love to start hearing some of yours. I have something on acquisitions, fintech and the DeFi wallet, neobanks, own chains, several things. So do you have any predictions that you want to share with us to start?
Yeah, I think for me, honestly, I think this is going to be a really quiet year for crypto, to be honest. I think price action is going to be really muted. I was just looking at Google Trends for Bitcoin searches, and they're effectively at what they were when Bitcoin was at 15K 3 years ago. And I think we'll basically see a very similar year to what 2023 was. Not a lot of people talking about the infrastructure. I sort of feel like, we're like the really exciting infrastructure scale development is now like the, minor, very small non-step function changes in like perpetuals markets, for example, right? Like that for me is just like not, that exciting and that thrilling. And I don't think that is the case for retail. I think that like typical predictions of, we'll effectively see a lot more of the, specifically in Latin America, a lot of the larger institutions announcing a lot of the big plans this year as well. Will we see like, there are a lot of people are talking now about like a BlackRock chain, for example. I don't think we'll necessarily get that from the region, but I do think we'll see a lot more announcements at a very solutions all coming on chain. So that I'm excited by. I think, price wise, my take is that we'll actually end up seeing Q1 and Q2 will likely be down or sort of flat for a lot of these digital assets. Q3 and Q4, I think we'll start to see things pick back up. So those are a few of my kind of broader takes on where things are going right now in the market.
Amazing, yeah. I agree with several of those points, and the part of price action, I think that if this is not a bearish year, I think it's good because it's breaking the 4-year cycle. I don't know if that'll happen, but I have some specific predictions for Latin America, and I would love to hear your takes on them, Simon. The first one is that I'm going to read 2 that I think that are really, they go together really well. The first one is that we'll have at least 3 what I call headliner acquisitions of international companies investing in Latin American or Latin America born crypto companies. So something like Stripe buying like a bridge similar product in Latin America, or maybe Nubank buying a crypto wallet. In December, we saw Buenbit being acquired by Nexo. Next week, we're gonna have the recording with Fede, the founder and CEO of Buenbit. He's been a friend for several years, so he's gonna come tell us everything that he can about the acquisition. He created this great post on how hard he's building shit and how hard it is going through an acquisition. So it's gonna be an amazing episode. But I see this 3 acquisitions. They could be Coinbase, they could be Nexo, they could be Stripe, they could be Nubank, but 3 crypto acquisitions in Latin America. And also, it goes really well with this, that we're gonna have at least 5 top fintech companies launching dollarized accounts with the DeFi mullet approach. There's this big category of fintech neobanks, companies like the ones that I mentioned, Meru, El Dorado, Contigo, and a lot of them coming. But these stablecoin neobanks are focused on these dollarized accounts, and big traditional fintechs such as Nubank, the Clips of the world in Mexico, maybe something like Albo, several companies in Colombia, they do not have this feature today. But I see that they're going to launch it with something like powered by Bando or powered by something similar. So I see these two predictions: 3 acquisitions and 5 top fintech companies in Latin America and emerging markets launching dollarized accounts through a partnership that basically through stablecoins basically. What do you think about this? Do you see them happening? What's your take?
I agree with you. I actually think that's a low, you're shooting low. I would say that there's going to be even more acquisitions based on the data that I've seen recently at a global scale. There are more and more, the ways that startups are exiting are more and more through acquisitions than through IPOs at large. And acquisitions are happening way faster. And IPOs are happening way faster than the pre-2015 era. In pre-2015, it usually took a company about 8 years to do an exit, and now it's about a little bit like 4 years or so. And the number of exits was really stagnant for a few years, and the past year has actually been a really good year for exits and for specifically exits through acquisitions. And naturally, stablecoins are most prevalent or most needed in emerging markets, including Latin America, including Africa, and including Asia. Asia specifically, man, incredible, as we saw in the chain analysis report, incredible adoption has been through other use cases, some speculation, some games, but they also have a large need for stability as well. Countries like Philippines, countries like Indonesia, they actually have been experiencing some depreciation of their currency. And these are very, very large economies and countries in terms of number of people. And so I would assume that like every single, like all of these companies that are launching stablecoins are going to get, or the ones that have been previously launched in the past 3 years are going to be in a really good, like near the 4-year kind of term to be acquired and at a lower price. Maybe they have, between 200,000 to 500,000 users, active users. That's and maybe even to 1 million. And so a company like Stripe, a company like Coinbase, a company like Robinhood, they can acquire these smaller teams for 200 million, 300 million. It's going to be like a cheap acquisition for these big teams and a great outcome for some of these startups and these founders in Latin America. And so obviously the bigger ones hopefully get acquired at larger prices. But we have to understand that acquisitions will never be the same in Latin America or in emerging markets as they are in the United States. It's just a matter of like unit economics and markets. But yeah, I'm excited, and I think actually we might see more than 3 acquisitions of companies that are in the crypto space, and we definitely will see more than 5 big fintechs adopting stablecoins. They have to. It's spreading like wildfire right now. This entire meta, it's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I see this scenario: acquisitions, fintechs implementing stablecoins. Basically, that's what we're building at Bando, and I see a big opportunity there. Recently, I've had a lot of conversations about embedded DeFi, and when I talk about it with people in the US, they're saying like implementing Morpho or Aave. And when I talk to the fintech companies in Latin America, that's irrelevant. What they want is access to the dollar, access to tokenized bonds. So I think that we have a big alpha being local builders, being able to get all of this information. So I'm really bullish on it. We're building basically a generational company out of that insight. Another prediction that I have is something really bullish, and I think this is basically full speculation, and more than speculation, full foresight, because I think this will happen. I don't know when, but I expect it to be this year. And I think that this year, Nubank will announce its own chain. Maybe Q4, but they're gonna, basically they see the power that's having something like Tempo, the power that's having Tether's layer 1, and they see like, I wanna launch something on that. And if they don't do it, they would have a partnership with something like Tempo, I think. So Nubank is the largest fintech company in Latin America, one of the largest fintech companies in the world. And I know that they are actively working on their crypto team. So I think I have this prediction. This is my bold prediction. I hope it happens in 2026. What do you think about this possibility for Nubank?
Well, honestly, there's nothing. I don't discard any of those options, but I don't really love this idea of private chains, like private companies owning chains. There's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing anybody can do about it. But like, we gotta call it what it is. It's centralized chains by companies, and I don't really know what efficiency it brings to them. To be quite honest, I think that naturally what we're going to see. Maybe this is the Bitcoin maxi me speaking, but I recently saw that the United States government made a deal to work with that random chain for their like most of the digital dollars that they're gonna start working on creating. I don't remember the chain. Maybe you can remind me, Abraham. But like it was just some random freaking chain that is kind of new. And then J.P. Morgan wants to build their own stablecoin and their own chain. So yeah, I do think that we are going to be seeing this kind of like private chain wars, or just new future where everybody's launching a private chain. But again, I fail to understand what benefits do they bring to a company to launch their own chain. It's a completely separate company. Instead of actually implementing Ethereum or Solana or an open protocol and just using stablecoins on those open protocols where anybody can plug into, they decide to add complexity, and then they decide to add closed systems to their basically to their workflows, which in my opinion just doesn't make sense. So if anybody in Nubank listens to this and wants to challenge me on it and give me a little bit more information on why that makes sense, I would love to hear it. But hopefully, hopefully I'm right, and they don't do that, and they actually just use an open protocol that already exists, that it's not perfect, but they have been battle tested, and they have been in this space for so much longer. Yeah.
I see what you say, and actually I saw the episode of what's the name of Patrick Collison's brother, John Collison, with the CEO of Privy and Zach, the CEO of Bridge, and the whole point for them launching Tempo, I don't completely understand it, because they say that basically chains are not built for payments, so they are building a payment chain, which is like a easy way out for a discussion and a super high level justification. So I'm not sure, but I think that all of these companies are seeing the opportunity to do this, raise millions of dollars, and expand their network and their products. So that's why I say this prediction. And two more predictions related to stablecoins. Well, three predictions related to stablecoins. The first one is that 30% of the remittance corridor between Mexico and the US will be processed via stablecoins. I know that 2024 was 10%. My estimation is that 2025 was around 17%, and I think that's gonna double in 2026. Felix Pau is growing like crazy. Basically, they are integrated with Nubank, Oxxo. Most of fintechs have integrated Felix Pago, so that's happening. They are also opening their B2B ecosystem. Bitso is crushing it in B2B payments. That's the first prediction. The second prediction, it's traditional stablecoins. I think that they will double at least to 600 billion, and that will be conservative, taking in account the Scott Bessent's prediction of having more than $2 trillion by 2030. And the last prediction, that these ones, I don't think that a lot of people will talk about, only Frontera, because we cover these markets. Non-USD stablecoins will go from 1.5 billion today to 10 billion. So this will be a round of 7x growth. That's because we're gonna start seeing these stablecoins catch rapid fire because of the bond part, not necessarily the payment and stablecoin part, but the bond. Next week I'm gonna be in Colombia for a conference that I was invited to be a speaker, and I'm gonna share some time with the Mintel folks that they are building stablecoins for the Colombian peso and other regions. So I see this growth of non-USD stablecoins really, really important this year. So what do you think about these predictions? Remittance, traditional USD stablecoins, and non-USD stablecoins.
Yeah, I mean, they're all related to this growing trend of everybody moving into the digital dollar. And so I actually, one interesting thing is that I've seen with a lot of data points in my life and with so many things is that a lot of these things are sometimes non-linear. You know, it's almost like the layman say it like, slowly then suddenly, kind of. And what's happening right now is the suddenly part. Like, it's going to grow very fast, and it's going to grow in ways that we probably are going to be hard to predict. But I definitely think we are living during a time where we can safely say that it's going to double or triple on the remittance corridors, on as you said. You said almost 5x on kind of like non-USD stablecoins. It's possible. It's definitely possible because if a lot of these things are going to stay on chain, and with the advent or the renaissance of like real world assets, Coinbase just launched this thing called like tokenize or something. I don't remember exactly the name, but real world assets combined with stablecoins. It's an interesting kind of market trend. And finally, we're going to be seeing, if that happens, we're definitely going to be seeing non-USD stablecoins grow really fast. So yeah, I think you hit it in the nail. It's definitely going to be an exciting year. And just to wrap it up, I actually think that even the Venezuelan situation, depending on how fast it happens and how fast American companies, petroleum companies, can enter the market, bro, this is the petrodollar, V2 petrodollar. It can happen, right? Like we're talking about the largest reserves of oil. Some people claim that these largest reserves of oil have not been proven, and that it was Chavez that made it up back in the day. It's possible, actually. I haven't seen the data source that proves that we have the largest reserves in the world, but it's been a common kind of story being told. And if it is, and the United States actually makes the transition, we have a transition, and we have United States petroleum companies entering, and the business happens through a digital dollar. The amount of dollars that will enter the Latin American economy through Venezuela will be massive. So yeah,
dude, I haven't thought of that just now, and that sounds really powerful and kind of obvious. Just think about the Venezuelan financial system. I don't know anything about it, but I don't think they have made a lot of progress in the last 15 years, right? So maybe doing transactions abroad is fucking painful, and the best way to do it is through stablecoins, right? With companies that are already proving this, that like El Dorado that used to operate in Venezuela, several other companies are already doing that for retail in stablecoins in Venezuela. So I think that the best way to import capital and export capital will be through stablecoins, and that will be a huge injection. If that happens, the largest global reservoir is proved, and it start getting exploited, stablecoins will be the best way to make money move between Venezuela and the world. That's an incredible. I haven't thought of that, but I think it's super powerful and can increase a lot market cap of stablecoins. Man, so let's start wrapping up. Do you have any predictions you'd like to share with us?
For me, this most exciting predictions actually lie in the AI space, man. I mean, I'm just like, ever since Opus 4.5 and Codex came out, and like this fight with the like latest models, I am just flabbergasted. Like, honestly, about little less than a year ago, I took a course on vibe coding, and I, had to spend a lot of time, quote unquote, debugging. But I don't know how to debug. I was just telling like, fix this. I don't understand this. Explain this to me. And in order to build a simple product, it was very a magical experience. It was the first time I built a product by myself. And let me tell you, it was the most exciting thing that has happened in my life since I jumped from a plane and I did skydiving. I haven't felt that energy and like that internal energy. Like, wow, I had the power to build products without engineers. Engineers, to me, that was like insane. It was just beautiful. But it was hard. It was hard, and it's not the same now, bro. These things are like what people call one-shotting products, and it's hard to measure, but I would say it's probably like a 10x improvement in terms of the coding agents. Um, and you combine that with like products like N8N and workflows, and my man, like the work landscape is changing so freaking fast, so fast. And I can tell you myself at Alliance, we are not going to be slowing down. We are going to automate every single process that we can with these models and with this AI, and we aim to be the best accelerator and VC fund in the world, through improving our processes, through achieving results through automation and improvement, through speed and efficiency. Speed and efficiency at the speed of inference, my man. Like, it's insane. And I want to do that for Alliance. Alliance wants to do this as a fund. I want to do this for myself. I don't want to be spending time doing like shit work. I want to be using my head to like do cool things. And let me tell you, the coolest thing you can do today is use cloud, use ChatGPT Codex, use N8N, play with those things. It's it's dummy proof. Anybody can do it. Just watch a few videos. It's amazing. And so for me, the predictions around AI are related. Yeah, for me, the predictions are related around AI. I don't have any specific ones that I want to like, that I thought of, but I while I'm really excited, I'm also really aware that a lot of people are going to lose jobs, and there's no fix for that. And the future is uncertain for so many millions of people as well. Yeah, I did. I did.
It,
Yeah.
it fucking amazing. I loved it. It was, I don't know. AlphaGo is one of my favorite movies ever. It's in my letterboxd as top four. And the thinking game is such an amazing piece of content. Obviously, it's kind of propagandistic because it's Google, but who cares? It's great content. And the thing that you're saying about this gives a big capability for anyone to build. I also think that this is a big opportunity for different crypto startups because when you do crypto, you cannot like move fast and break things because you can lose money, and that could be really dangerous if you do it. So I think that the appification of the world is critical, and part of the appification of the world is how do you enable an LLM to build something in DeFi really fast. You need to build an API that is reliable and that can be compatible with LLMs really fast. So that's something that I found really, really, really interesting. And I really like what you said about what can I do? How can I focus my time? It got me thinking about this book of Jeff Bezos shareholder letters. I absolutely recommend it. It's called Invent and Wonder, and basically that's what's gonna happen with great founders. Invent and wonder, like get your mind as deep and as fast as you can into some idea. So wonder about it and invent it. Not just wait and wonder. It's time to invent. I absolutely recommend that book if you haven't read it. Go take a look. Bezos is a great writer, surprisingly. His letters are amazing. And dude, really exciting year. Frontera will keep growing. Last year, just for everyone listening, we grew 10x. So I expect another at least 3 to 5x of growth this year for Frontera. Really grateful to have you here, my man. I don't know if you want to say anything to close the episode.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I'm not surprised that Jeff Bezos is a great writer. I mean, just the fact that he built the biggest book store in the world, and he's a nerd. And even though he stutters when he speaks in person, all these founders are great communicators. They have to be, right, in order to sell their visions, to do what they do. They're big salespeople, and yeah, I actually have read some of the investor letters from Jeff. Not all of them. I haven't read the book, but I used them as inspiration when I was building value. When I was writing my own investor letters, even though obviously I never had to do that because his investor letters are mostly from when he was a public company. But yeah, dude, with the going back to the AI point, and just to wrap up, it's especially for people that are building in finance, in fintech, in crypto. You maybe I'm like exaggerating here, but I personally don't think so. If I was a founder right now, I would question everything of how my product looks. I would question everything about like my team structure. I would really think, you know, how will the world change in the next year, the next 3 years, and the next 5 years with this kind of with the speed that AIs are working on. I would research more deeply how chips for AI work. I would research more deeply about on-device inference. I would research more deeply about small LLMs. I would research more deeply about how tokens for AI work, about MCP. I would really try to understand all of this world because it's a new world. Even if for engineers who used to know how to program before AI, they have to retrain themselves with this new, like it's a whole new world. And for us that are non-technical, we don't have to learn how to do these things. We just have to understand at high level, what does MCP mean? It's the future of APIs. APIs are going to die. In the future, all these things are just going to talk to each other. So in that world, how do finance products look like? And I've been talking about this with some founders that I've been mentoring, and some founders that I've been nudging in that direction. And so, yeah, man, I think 2026, it's hard to predict how fast this is going to go, but we're going to see a lot of optimization because there's a limit on energy. And we'll know that the new kind of direction of a lot of these companies is optimizing the algorithms, optimizing on device inference, and all of those points. So, yeah, I think, that's also part of a prediction as well, right? Like companies who don't adapt quicker are going to die at the hand of companies who are AI native, AI first.
One of the theses that I have building everything that I'm building is that AI makes good founders better and bad founders worst, because it basically accelerates everything that you do. And if you don't have like the right way of making decisions, it'll accelerate your sloppy way of working or thinking. And something that it's also really relevant is that we are in the time where science is advancing the closest in the product cycle to real products in the market. What I mean is that these LLMs are frontier science that years ago they presented, I don't know, they published a paper and maybe 1 year later you had a product in production. Today they publish the paper and 3 weeks later they have the model in production, or at the same time. So it's something instrumental for any founder or anyone listening to Frontera to keep to stay updated. Read a couple of science articles, understand how they're written. Basically what you just said about how chips work, how MCP works. Most of these things are products, but also they have like a scientific approach. So I nudge everyone to have that curiosity. it's something really random is that when I was in uni, I published a research article in this like science magazine, which is an amazing experience. It was horrible. It took so long, so bureaucratic, but it helped me create this mind of scientific development. I didn't pursue that career, but at the end, I think that everyone should understand everything that you said: how chips work, how token works, how LLM works, also how non-LLM AI work. Something like AlphaFold, something like I don't know, self-driving cars. So fascinating topics, and man, thank you. I expect more growth for Frontera, and next week we'll have Fede from Buenbit. Then we'll record an episode about Venezuela. And thank you for everything, and see you next time. Thank you, bro.